Yellow, ladies and gentlemen, today's not going to be a very good video. I don't really have much to look at, so I guess we could talk about I don't know, what's my favorite biomes or something, or maybe I don't know, we'll talk about flower spawn.
Ah, that sounds boring. Let's do something fun instead.
Uh Yo, ladies and gentlemen, I actually do have something for this week, and that is going to be the super awesome game that is going to take the world by storm, Creeper Punch. And that's right, we are here with Dave. Say hi, Dave.
Hey guys, it's me, Dave. I mostly stream on Twitch, but I also like doing some creative redstone with this guy.
So definitely look down in the video description. I'm going to put a link to his channel down there. It'll be right above the world download, where you're going to be able to download this for yourself. But you may be asking yourself, first of all, why the heck is Strom doing a video with some other guy? And then secondly, what the heck is Creeper Punch? Well, first, watch your language, guys. Okay, just it's too much.
Come on
It's
now.
getting ridiculous. But what is Creeper Punch? It's going to be a game where we're going to use redstone and we're going to punch creepers and try and win the game. This idea came about because I was watching Dave's channel one day, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, I have this cool creeper farm. You want to see it?" And of course, knowing me, I'm like, "I love creeper farms." And suddenly, out of nowhere, he just starts shooting gas balls at floating creepers. And I'm just like, I gotta get in on this. I gotta get in on this. So, Dave, how did this whole start for you?
So I built a creeper farm where I just killed them by levitating them up with shulkers, and then they died to fall damage. And then in another world, or in the current world, I wanted to take it a step further. So I just made a gas cannon, and now the flying creepers, I can just play like a little aiming game.
He
With
just says that
gas
all
balls.
casually. Okay. Just wanted to make shulkers, float creepers, and shoot gas balls at them. That's so casual.
Yeah,
Oh, and by the
yeah.
way, are you
Who
doing this
doesn't
in
know it?
you're just doing this in normal survival where you just respawn whenever you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not in half-hearted hardcore or anything. Nope.
Oh, it's half-hearted
Not
hardcore.
me.
Oh my god. Seriously, guys, Dave does a lot of he takes that redstone concept, and all of us technical players kind of tips it on our head and makes it more fun. And so that really inspired me to do this game, and I told Dave he's got to get in on it with me, and we decided to work on this together, and we're going to run through it now. So let's get to it. So Dave, congrats on your win. You won the game.
Hey, it's that easy.
Yeah, we totally we never cheated while testing it at all.
No,
Fine.
don't. You didn't have to say that.
So what we've done is we've taken Dave's idea of having shulkers float creepers and made a slime block wall behind that you push buttons to try and push the creepers out. So if the creepers come up through this path and go up here, then they don't count towards your score, and you won't see this line of lamps increasing. But if you knock them, they fly over to this window, then they fall down in here, they go into a different set of hoppers. You'll notice we do have these buttons here, and what we have is, because it's a game, we wanted to add a little bit of difficulty, so we didn't want the slime blocks to pop out like the second you push the button. So these are on a falling edge, so as we push the button, it doesn't actually activate that until the observer is pulled back up. And then what we're doing is we are just changing the position of these open fence gates because mobs can fall through open fence gates, but then the observer still detects them. So we can use that to send it through here. Here's another area where the creepers are coming up. So we have another set of open fence gates. And then we just send the signal up to this line block. Now, as far as actually turning this into something usable, there's a lot more redstone that went into that. So, we had the idea, and that's what we started off with. So there was a lot of other stuff that went into this, and we're going to go over that here. So first things first, in order to get creepers up into this chamber, you're going to have to farm them. So we opted not to build this up in the sky, which means you are going to have to do some unfortunate spawn proofing of the area around here, or you're not going to get that many creepers. So you can do some play testing on your own world if you were to hit those things. But we actually have below here, we can see these purple lines are going to feed us with creepers out of this blue creeper farm. It's a really basic design. So all it is it's just a timer that's going to open and close those trapdoors. And we have the trapdoors on top so that only creepers can spawn there. It's going to drop them down in. In fact, let me go ahead and spawn one here. Creeper's going to get knocked out. It's going to just fall all the way down. We do have him hitting those magma blocks before he gets pushed in there, just to make sure that their despawn timer doesn't reset. Once they get up to the farm itself, or the game itself, they'll be fine. And then we have them fly up. You also notice Dave did put these glow lichen up here because we did have issues with drown spawning in the columns. So that's the thing that exists. So we just got to make sure that we can spawn proof the bubble columns, a statement I never thought I'd say. And then we bring the creepers up here and we store them until we're ready to start playing the game. So these gates will open up, that turns back into a bubble column and it sends them up.
So when we start the game, as Storm already said, the gates here open up. So they will come on top of the scaffolding here, as you see those creepers. And the snow golem that's all the way at the back here will be carted right underneath the central shulker here that you can see sitting upside down. And the snow golem will start shooting that, and it'll get aggroed, which will then group aggro 10 shulkers that are inside this lava here on the left and on the right. And when those start shooting, we channel those shulker bullets to hit those creepers, and then those creepers will float up and get into the game like that. And yeah, when the game ends, either you lose or win, the snow golem will then get put away from here again, so the shulkers de-aggro and they don't shoot any more bullets out unnecessarily.
So that's how we actually get the creepers up into this chamber, and then you use the buttons to push them out. But now we want to make sure we can actually keep track of whether or not the player is going to win the game or not. And what we're doing is using the creeper drops, so the gunpowder. So there is a little bit of RNG involved in this game as well, because some creepers drop 0 gunpowder, some will drop 2. So you're going to get an average of 1, but it's not going to be a 1-to-1. But we count those using this brown circuit right here. And, luckily Dave helped me remember I need to, start doing some different circuit coloring. So you can see we have a bunch of different color circuits here. This brown circuit is the counter. So each time we have an item spit out, it counts. And then we're using this system right here with this observer, and we're going to send it back and forth. I'm just going to break this real quick so we can show how we're actually going to do this count. So what we want is we want to get a signal on this purple block right here where there was redstone that I've taken out just so we don't actually set it off. And we're using that so that we can count to 30 using comparators. And we're doing it every 3 times because you can only get to signal strength 15 with comparators. So we're doing it every 3 times up to 10 equals 30 gunpowder to win the game. So if I just hit this note block here to simulate a count coming in, we can see that that's going to switch positions through those 3 positions. Now we can see here this purple memory cell right here that Dave has put in here. Each time it gets a signal, it counts up 1 signal strength. And so in this case right here, we got signal strength 10, so that's a win condition. Then in order to reset that, since we're using this kind of weird trinary counter here, we needed a nice way to reset it. So we're using these pistons. So that's why there's obsidian on top, so we can't push the observer out of the way. But here I'm going to push up that piston head, block it, and then it's going to push both of these pistons to get it right into the center wherever it needs to be. And then we're reset back to our original position. And then that's also going to send a signal. So this gray line here, send a signal there, also sends it over here to then also reset our signal back using this memory cell.
So the memory cell itself works by taking the current state of the cell and inverting the signal basically, but instead of inverting it with a full signal strength 15, we're using a K-cure, so we get 14. And then inverting it again with another subtract mode comparator. So whenever we get a signal from this counter here, so every third gunpowder, we take basically the current memory cell state and add 1 to it and feed it back into the memory cell. So that's how we add +1 with every free gunpowder to the current game score. So the score from the memory cell gets output into the purple wire at the bottom here. As you can see, we preserve the signal strength for this chain of comparators. It goes around to the back where we'll have this display to see how much progress you've made in the game. Those 10 redstone lamps you see inside the game. That's the purple line that goes around and wraps around to the back. But it also has a side output at the bottom here, where we subtract 9 from it. So only when you reach the win condition of 30 gunpowder, so signal strength 10 in the memory cell, this light blue line gets an output, and that is game victory. And that again splits off into all the events that happen when the game is won. Like, for example, you getting your diamond, those rockets firing off, and yeah, also the timer over here stopping.
So right here behind the wall is where we have the diamond dispenser, and what we have is kind of like you'd have on maybe a machine. You have this open slot here, and it's going to dump a diamond if you win the game. So when the game starts, this gets sucked behind the wall, and it just sits here under this dropper waiting with the diamonds. If you're going to build this in your world, don't worry. You don't have to fill it with that many diamonds. Just put some diamonds in there.
No, you have to. Actually, you have to. It won't work otherwise.
What? But why?
No, listen, just trust me. That's how it is. It has to be full.
So as I was saying, put in just some diamonds or some reward, whatever, you could do ancient debris reward or a ticket or something. But then what it's going to do is it's going to then actually spit out, because we saw that light blue line was going to get activated. It'll spit back out before this gets pushed to the other side of the wall. So their prize will be waiting inside the cauldron for them. So Dave and I here are going to reenact this as it was happening. So game starts, that gets sucked back into the wall. And then let's say you win the game. So Dave activates to get a diamond in there, and then this spits back out, and boom, there's a diamond. So then, once again, this light blue line, we're using a bubble column here so that we can just get a nice upward signal. We started with scaffolding, but if the side of scaffolding is exposed, it can actually burn away. So bubble column.
We learned about that.
Yeah, we didn't freak out at all. Not at all.
No, and yeah, not us.
And then so we come up here to this clock that Dave assembled for us.
I don't even want to talk about that clock, but yeah, it runs the fireworks, and there's the dispensers that shoot the fireworks into the chamber.
So basically, this is an n divided by 2 counter, because what we have here is we have 8 in there. That divided by 2 is 4, and by default, we're shooting out 4 sets of fireworks. If fireworks are kind of scarce for you, you want to limit that, you can take this down to 4. Now you're going to get 2 fireworks. Or if you want to get even more celebratory, you could put in 16, and that's now going to be 8 fireworks, etc., etc. So it's this count divided by 2 is how many fireworks are going to shoot out.
We also included the recipe for the fireworks in here, if you want to have the same kind of creeper phase we had in the system here.
And then the final thing that the light blue line is going to come over and do, I mean, technically this happens simultaneously, but final thing on our list that it's going to do is it's then going to reset this clock that we used here. Now, this is, once again, technically not a clock. It's a pulse extender. And all we're doing is we're using the timing of the pulse extension. This is Ilmango's really long pulse extender. This is a really great system. It's super customizable. And the timer we can have here, this can actually run for like over an hour per cycle. But what you're going to do is fill up this hopper right here with more items to get that going and to count over. So each time it counts over, what it's going to do is it's going to subtract 1 from the signal strength here. So it's going to start out signal strength 15, and then it'll subtract 1 each time. Once it reaches 0, if you have not won the game, that's when it cuts it off and cancels it. But if you win the game, we don't want it to keep running down and make you have to wait to play again. Because the player might be so enraged they're going to want to give you another diamond and play again. We want to get that money, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's the whole scheme here.
So we send in this redstone block on the side of it so that we can actually then send in a signal strength 15 on the side, and then that completely resets the decrements. So that's how we turn it off if you're going to win the game. But we also want to turn it off if you lose the game. And so we also have this signal going over here that we're cutting off if you win. But if you lose, you get this.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know, it's so embarrassing. But you'll also remember that we had some other music playing while the game was going, and that was getting increasingly faster. So we have this other little note block jingle here. And the way that was working is we do have a timer right here, or a line here that represents the timer with the progress of the game. And as this goes up, the music gets faster and faster to make it kind of more tense. And that's where this clock comes in here on the yellow line, which Dave gave us. Dave, you want to talk about how this works?
Yeah, it's just a pulse extender, but it cuts off its input whenever it's actually on. So depending on the signal strength it gets input, the slower it runs. So if it gets a low signal strength input, meaning you're almost running out of time, it starts running really fast. But at the start of the game, when you still have a lot of time, it'll run really slowly.
Represent that to him.
Cake? He doesn't do the cake.
Well, so you can change the strength of it.
Yeah, but you can eat a cake and make it. I always do cake. Like. Alright, so yeah, it cuts off its input as long as it holds a signal. So the higher the signal strength you put in, the slower it runs. And as you can see, if the signal strength gets lower, it'll start running out faster and therefore gives faster outputs. We also added the spam protection to the start button. So once you trigger it, it will pull down the slime block
toggle state
pillar here.
That's a toggle state. That's a toggle state. You did a toggle state, right?
So yeah, as I was saying, when you press the start button, it will actually disable the start button, and this signal will also go out to toggle on everything else, like for example the shulker gun, the creepers going up. It will toggle on the timer here. It will reset the memory cell, and it will also pull back the cauldron for the diamond output. That all gets triggered right at the start button. And once the game ends, so no matter if you win or lose, it will obviously re-enable the start button and yeah, turn everything back off, give you your diamond or not if you lost, and yeah, resets everything. Oh, so here's a wire. It runs to this thing, and there's
so
another
you can
wire.
get redstone dust. Yeah.
Yeah. You can put it onto blocks actually, but it has to be a full block surface.
Now, we did talk about this being a game, but this is still a farm as well. And regardless of whether or not the user gets the creeper, because you saw most of the creepers were actually going into that fail chamber, we have both the gunpowder that's getting counted and the gunpowder that's not getting counted going back into the same water stream so that you can actually store all of those as well. So you can have this on display if this is, just a friendly server, or you can have this behind the scenes if this is your own private thing. But you will get the gunpowder output from both sets of creepers. So that's pretty much it for how stuff is working. But we do want to make sure that we cover some setup steps here, because if you do decide to build this, there's some very specific things. So unless there's anything else you have to add, Dave, about how this is working?
Yeah, actually, send direct messages to Strom if you need anything.
Oh, wait, what? What the?
Wait, what did I?
What?
Wait,
you're just abandoning me? Where are you going? What? I'll talk about setup steps. Will you at least stick around for that part?
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll stick around for that.
So first thing that we want to make sure we cover is how you're actually going to get those shulkers into those bullet chambers, because it's not as easy as just sending a minecart over. So Dave has these setups over here where he's going to walk us through how you're going to get those shulkers in place.
So the shulkers are sitting inside a 3 tall scaffolding tower surrounded by lava, which prevents them from shooting their own minecarts so they can't teleport out. So there's going to be 10 shulkers on either side, and you prepare that by having the free scaffolding in the middle and spaces around, so you can put lava on 3 sides, and on the 4th side, you're going to wait until you actually have the shulkers in. So you will need to get your shulkers into minecarts and all stacked up onto one single powered rail. So I'm just going to do 2 or 3 here for demonstration purposes, but you're going to do 10 in the actual game on either side. And once you get them all stacked up onto one single rail, you can then drive them over right underneath the setup where the last lava column will have to be. And then you can push that glass block up. Now they're next to the scaffolding. And notice I have a sticky piston here. You can then push them into that scaffolding. Now they're all inside that bottom scaffolding. Pull that glass block back to where it needs to be and put that last lava into position. And now they cannot shoot their own minecarts, and they only can shoot upwards, which shulker bullets cannot go down through scaffolding, so they're basically safe from their own bullets. And in survival, you'd obviously need invisibility potions whenever you do anything with shulkers. So yeah, that's another thing to note. And once you got them in there, then you can actually build that barrel around it where the actual bullets are gonna go to hit the creepers.
All right, so you're going to want to make sure you're going to do that twice. You can bring them over on rails from your shulker farm. You're probably going to want a shulker farm, but you could just bring over that many shulkers if you really wanted to. That's up to you. But you can rail them over. You could send them through the Nether into a portal system, like you would do building a mob switch. However you do that, you would just bring them over to this spot that Dave set up right here. But then, so you're going to do that on 2 sides. There's 2 of them in there. But then you also need the shulker that's going to do the group aggro, and Dave's going to walk us through that here.
Yeah, so the tricky part about that one is it needs to sit upside down on the bottom side of this glass block right there. So you're going to need to put it into position and then force it to turn without teleporting. So the way you do that is, first of all, you won't even have the block there initially where it's going to sit on. First of all, you're going to activate a rail lid on top of this temporary block in there, in the chamber, that cobblestone block. And the way you make it turn is by restricting its space and preventing it from teleporting. You do that by making it so it can still have an airspace on one side. So now that it's sitting there, once it closes down, we place that block where we need it to sit. There you go. Now it's sitting sideways. So the next step is to remove that temporary block in there and put the pressure plate that's going to be in the final build in there onto that scaffolding. And now you're going to box it in completely. And when, again, it closes down, you can close it in, and now it turned upside down because this is the only airspace it has, is where the pressure plate is. And once that is done, you're going to want to make sure that the redstone block is down. That way that the trapdoor is open and the snow golem can annoy this guy, so it aggroes onto the snow golem.
So we can see here that snow golem, he shoots his snowballs up, pisses this guy off, and then that reaches over to your towers. In this case, we have this blocked off, so that's why we're not seeing the bullets come out, but that's why the bullets would be trying to get over to the snow golem over here.
So the concept of a shulker gun, the idea I have from a community member named Fairly Hard, and Ending Credits has a lot of good videos on shulker mechanics in general and how this kind of stuff works with group aggroing and that kind of stuff.
Now, once again, we also did talk about how you're going to have good spawning conditions. We use command blocks to set up kind of a fake perimeter using glowstone blocks. This is going to be a nightmare to all successfully do in survival. So this is where you're getting ideal creeper rates, right? But we can have a couple of changes in here if you find out that your rates aren't exactly what you'd like. So first thing we talked about, your first option would be to extend the game. So you can put more items into this gray pulse extender here, and that will then extend the length that the game gets played. Your other option would be to either build this a little bit differently or just use some obsidian to block this off. So if I block that off right there, this is now only going to go back and forth, and every 2 gunpowder that comes through, it's going to give a signal to our memory cell. Or if you're going to reduce that even more, so they only need 15, then you can just take this down a step where you can just bring this purple up here and then take your signal directly off of the counter. But I'll just set it back to this for the world download, back to the 3 count, because ideally you're going to be getting enough creepers that someone is going to be able to play up to that 30 gunpowder or that 10 signal strength. So you also see over here, we do have another creeper farm idea design that we started out with, and then we're going to bring it over to a different mob conveyor. In the end, it's up to you really which creeper farm design you want to go with. We're going to include this one in the world download. Just because it was nice and horizontally compact, right? So yes, it was tall on the y-axis, but it was nice and compact on the x and the z. But here was one with cats and their carpets. There might be a 3 levels of creeper farm video somewhere out there on some really cool guy's channel.
Who might that be?
Like mine. One more thing I also want to cover with, this is completely optional. You see, we got some suppressed water here. So we have this 2 wide. We did have that because occasionally creepers are going to bump each other and all that. So I want to make sure we got a little extra room to come over. You can 100% do this with open fence gates or double signs. I think this looks a lot better to have the suppressed water. So right over here, I'm just going to real quick show you how we're going to do that. First thing is we want to put down some temporary blocks, have our water flowing to the back. So this is our fail chamber over here. And then you just want to do this setup where you have the slime blocks up against the wall, and we have a structure here that's beyond push limit. So we have each of the slime blocks connected. They're connected to the wall that's way beyond push limit. You have a sticky piston facing in, and then underneath that, above that is the dirt, and then just put some redstone blocks there. Next step is to actually get rid of the dirt on both slots here. Now we can break away these redstone blocks, and we're going to see that water is not going to flow through because we've suppressed it. But that only leaves us one, so we do need a sign for the other row. So that's where you're going to come in. You're going to break the slime block and put on your sign. You don't have to worry about being too fast because that's not actually affecting this neighboring water block right here. If you build this, you want to make sure it's not going to wash away your wither roses or anything like that. So maybe you do this part first, or maybe you just, kind of get good. Then you can break out your pistons and you're good to go. You have your 2 wide waterway. That's going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, down in the video description, there will be a world download where you can download this world. You can take a schematic for yourself. You can rebuild it. You can test it, do whatever you want there, redeco it if you want. Just keep in mind those instructionals that Dave gave us over there about how you actually get the shulkers in there. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. Even if you want to do this in creative, you need to do that process. But also be sure to check out what Dave is up to over on Twitch. His link is going to be down in the video description. He's doing some awesome stuff with some fun redstone, doing some really inspiring work. But that's going to be it for this video.
And Strom will see you in the next one, and he hopes you have a good one. Bye.